Hi, everyone. This is Caroline with the Expat Interviews Thriving Abroad, where I get a chance to go all over the universe, all over the globe, to meet the most exciting and fascinating people and celebrity people, too, let me tell you. Um, I have the honor and the pleasure today of bringing you a young man who is going to share his very, very special story about transitioning. And this channel is all about the transition, right? Leaving one place to go and live in another. Sometimes it's a different culture, sometimes it's a similar culture, but regardless, the transition is a transition. It requires a lot of thought, it requires planning, and more than anything, it requires a lot of grit, energy, and faith, and I can't think of any other, well, strength. You got to be strong when you're planning to move to another place. So hopefully his story will inspire a little bit. And he was recently featured in one of the popular online magazines. And I'm so excited that he is here with us, just giving his little short version of his amazing story. Kamar, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. After that long introduction, I'm just really pleased that we're able to share your story. So let's get into your story. You're living on the beautiful, beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico.
I am.
And
And it's very much an amazing night.
yeah, I actually had the opportunity to go to visit Puerto Rico many moons ago, and I spent a weekend there. And I'm not just saying this, but it was one of the most amazing places that I had ever been to, and it's on my top 10 list of places that I would go back to visit again, spend time, or maybe if I had to transition again, it would definitely be on my list. But let's get into your story, Kamar. Tell us a little bit about where you're from originally.
Okay, well, I was born in New York City. I was born in Brooklyn. My parents are from Wilmington, North Carolina, which is like the Gullah Geechee corridor area. We're very much rice-eating people. But yeah, I grew up in North Carolina mostly, and going back and forth to New York City and North Carolina. I was in New York City during the summer times. In school, I was in North Carolina. So I'm a little city country, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got a little bit of New York and a little bit
Yeah.
of country at the same time, a mix. Yeah. So, okay, so you're, from the US, and you had some steps before you made it to Puerto Rico. What were, you were in the military, I understand?
I was Air Force for 13 and a half years. Got out, moved to Utah. I was modeling and acting out there. A lot of people don't know about Utah having a film
No,
industry.
wait a minute, hold up. You were modeling and acting in
I modeled.
Utah.
Yeah, Utah. Believe it or not, I was a shoo-in because there wasn't that much color out there. So, it was kind of like, I mean, there was not to say that there was no competition out there, because there are brothers out there, but it's pretty homogenized. I'll just put it that way. It's pretty homogenized. Blonde hair, blue eyes. There's not much color diversity, so especially not at that time. So yeah, I started modeling and acting out there. I was picked up by Wilhelmina Models at their Salt Lake office at the time. Stayed there for about 5 or 6 years, and then I moved here.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. You gave up that Wilhelmina, because that's one of the top agencies in the world.
Yeah, it was. Very much. That was a very exciting time in my life, just put it that way. So yeah, but I did a lot of fitness modeling at first, and then I did a lot of commercial work out there. And you'd be surprised how many films and all sorts of stuff that actually go through Salt Lake. Salt Lake did Touched by an Angel back in the day. They did a lot of stuff was filmed in Salt Lake. Will Smith did, I think, I can't remember that one movie, the Alien movie he did a long time ago. He did that out there. There's a lot of stuff that was filmed in Salt Lake. You just don't know it's Salt Lake.
So that was kind of like the first transition for you, right? Moving from like New York, Carolina to Utah. That's a bit of a transition.
Well, I was military before that. Well, I moved to North Carolina, and then when I left North Carolina when I was like getting out of high school, whatever. But then I went into the military, so I moved to Japan after that. So I did most of my time in the military in Japan. So from the time I was probably like 19 years old to about the time I was 29, I was overseas. So I'm not new to the expat thing. I've been living overseas most of my adult life. So yeah.
Okay, so you do have some experience in adapting to different cultures, and it wasn't like a big shock for you. Because I don't know, maybe coming from New York to go to Utah might be a culture shock in of itself.
Going from New York to Utah is a culture shock, but I actually went from Japan. Because I was in the military. I went from Japan to Colorado. I was stationed in Colorado for like the last 3 years in the military. I got picked up by Wilhelmina while I was in the military, believe it or not. I was hustling. And then when my contract with the military was up, I moved to Salt Lake. I got out the military and was doing my thing out in Salt Lake. So yeah. So this is picking up and just leaving. Like, it's not that it's easy. It takes guts to do it, because I mean, you're leaving something that you're comfortable in to go do something that's different. But it's doable. It's very doable.
Of course, and you're the perfect example. So why Puerto Rico? What did you just wake up one day and said, "Hey, I want to go to Puerto Rico"? Did you, had you visited? How did you, come about going to that island?
Surface now. It was scratching the surface now. No, I used to be married to a girl that was from here originally. And I came here with her for my first time, and I fell in love with it because it reminded me of Okinawa. And I was like, man, I would love to live here one day. She was like, oh no, I wouldn't want to live here. I mean, I'm from here, but I like to visit, and that's it. My life is in the States, blah, blah, blah. So like we split went our separate ways, and I was like, you know what? I need a little bit of a change for a little bit, just a little bit, maybe a year or two, and then come back to Salt Lake and do my thing in Salt Lake, because I was, like I said, I was modeling. And I decided to start looking for jobs down here, and I found a job. I was like, seriously? I was like, it just came out of nowhere. It was like, what happened? It was a position open here, and I was like, you know what? I might not get it, but let me just go ahead and just put it in anyway. And sure enough, they liked my personality when they did an interview on me, and then I moved, and next thing you know, I was down here. Yeah, next thing you know, I was down here.
Wow.
So it just fell in line, you know what I mean? And
sure. Sure, it just kind of lined up for you.
It lined up, yeah, it definitely lined up. I didn't just come out here like, yeah, I'm just gonna go down there, and I did have a job when I came here. Now, I had a job when I came here, but I didn't have a place to stay. Those are two different things. And I was like, well, if I move, what's more important, me having a car or me having a place? Well, in a place like this is still Latin America. This is the United States, but this is very much Latin America. So when you go on the classifieds and looking for apartments and things like that, you don't want to just like rent a place from when you're over in the States. You want to see what you're getting when you're here. You know what I mean? Because if you rent something from afar and you get here, you might not be exactly what it looks like on the pictures.
Right.
So, I mean,
right.
Yeah,
that's true.
Position. Yeah.
So you didn't have a couple of barriers then. It's still the U.S., but it is, like you said, it's a different country in many ways. It's a different country, but it's still the U.S. So how was your Spanish? Did you speak Spanish when you?
When I got here, I did not speak Spanish. I learned how to cook the food from here, but I never spoke Spanish until I got here. And it's because when I first got here, I lived in the mountains. I didn't live in San Juan. In San Juan, like where I'm at right now, San Juan metro area, people are a lot of bilingual people. So you can kind of get by if you don't speak English. Okay, fine, perfect. Because in the stores, in the restaurants, and a lot of government offices, they speak English because it's a heavy tourist area. But where I was living in the mountains, you'll be hard pressed to find somebody who's going to speak English. So I was forced to speak Spanish. Like I was pretty much thrown into it. So I had to pick it up. And after a while, you will pick it up because your brain, believe it or not, is a very powerful computer. And you being around a certain thing in a certain language or environment long enough, it'll adapt to that area. So, I mean, I know some people are more inclined to learn languages than others, but still, it's the same thing.
Something that I know a lot will be on a lot of people's mind is the fact that you've been through some really bad times in weather-related issues. And, that's a big concern for a lot of people that are going to, or that would like to live on a place that is exposed to, the type of elements. What has it been like for you post hurricane?
Okay, before the post hurricane, I'll answer that. Post hurricane, it's been different. It doesn't have that. It had a spunk before. It had a lot of spark before. The hurricane really did a lot of damage to the island, the infrastructure of the island, which wasn't the greatest in the first place, but it did a lot of damage to the infrastructure. We're just now starting to get kind of back to normal. But I think it made people have PTSD, I think. Because, after the storm, I remember going out to my job and I saw people were just walking down the street with the little belongings that they had, just like almost like a bomb had dropped on them. It was pretty rough. And that I've been through a lot of hurricanes and typhoons. I lived in Japan. We had typhoons over there. It's the same as the hurricane. I lived in North Carolina. We had hurricanes there, but Hurricane Maria was a storm that I had never, the power of it, I'd never seen anything like that before. Never seen anything like it.
And so I see a little bit here and there that the country's really, the resiliency of the Puerto Ricans, they have picked themselves up and, they're just, making the best of it and moving on. I can't really say that you're a foreigner per se, but for someone who's not from there originally, how has it been for you going through, the cultural change plus, having to kind of navigate through this, this transition post hurricane, post trauma, what has it been like for you and your relationship with others?
For me personally, it was rough. But because I had been here before the hurricane, I was already starting to get adapted. And then I was military, so I've been in some pretty crazy environments. But no, post hurricane, I was because of my job that I have, I was able to help people out, and so I used that time to not focus on me. I used my time to focus on other people who need it more than what I need. Because I was here by myself, so I don't need a whole lot, But the people in the community need it more. So I believe that if you focus your time on helping other people, you'll just forget about what's going on with you, and it just, I don't know, it comes back to you in a good way. So that's what I did. That was my way of like not worrying about what was going on with myself. I just focused on other people. I helped a lot of people. I helped give water to people because a lot of people didn't have clean water. There was a lot going on here, and I'm pretty sure you saw it on the news too. But,
oh yeah, the stories were heartbreaking. I mean, it was just gut wrenching to see. What people, I was in an earthquake in Costa Rica, a really big one, but it was nothing, I'm sure that what you guys went through there was just double, triple what the aftermath of, the earthquake. So I'm really interested and excited that you are sharing this because, I talk a lot about, being an expat, being in a different country and, things happen, right? Things are going to happen, unexpected things. And you being the military, I actually am just finishing up a book where I do a chapter and talk about, living abroad and being prepared for emergencies. And of course, you being in the military, you were super prepared, but it is important that you really, I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. You could be living in Bora Bora or, the most amazing city in the world. You really do have to have a self-awareness and be conscious of the fact that, from one day to the next, a disaster could happen. And, what's your plan B? How you're going to survive. So that's really important. I like to stress that when you're living abroad, you really, not to make it gloom and doom, but that is a part of, of
right.
life.
You have to have some kind of like a plan B, some kind of plan for natural disasters and things like that. When you live especially when you live in the Caribbean, you have earthquakes here, you have hurricanes. You have natural disasters here. You have floods sometimes when it rains a lot. So you have to prepare yourself for that. You should make sure you have enough water. You should make sure you have enough dry food that you can, just in case something happens, you can't go to the store. Because that was another thing that happened in Maria. the supermarkets were getting tons of people buying stuff, and after a while, we didn't have food in the supermarket. So you want to have stuff saved up, you know, like I said, dry fruits, things that you could like add water to. Have a pallet of like bottled water just in case. You gotta have stuff just in case. And we're not
Absolutely.
on the mainland. You can get the stuff easily. Here we're in a small island, so it's a necessity to have things
Yep.
at your convenience right there, in, where you can get to them fast, just in case something like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, that's really important. I've been there and done that. I know exactly how that works. So let me just ask you, I know that you've been highly sought out because, you're a Black man in Puerto Rico, but I recall as soon as I stepped off the plane in Puerto Rico, there were lots of people my color and darker than me. In fact, I felt kind of strange in San Juan because, I wasn't expecting to have such such a large population of folks there in San Juan. At least I thought maybe I know there's another section of Puerto Rico that has, it's like an Afro type of community, but I wasn't expecting that much in San Juan. So how has it been for you? How have people, do you just kind of blend in?
No, well, where I live in a town called Bayamon, which
Bayamon.
I don't blend in so much there. There are a lot of people. Most people are lighter than me. But on the other side of the airport is Louisa, which is the blackest town on the island. And
Right.
And in San Juan, you have a lot of Black people in San Juan. Places like Jaimito and Coupe. Was it Tito Trinidad? I work with a cousin of his, and they're Black people. They're Black people. There's lots of Black people. This whole island basically was Black at one point in time, and then they allowed Europeans, more and more Europeans, non-Spanish Europeans, to come in and mix and mingle. So most people think that Puerto Ricans are like J-Lo. They look like J-Lo, all of them. No, but they got Puerto Ricans darker than me.
Yep, that's true. That is true.
This is one of the first stops on the slave trade. So the African culture is here. Trust me, it's very much here. I was in Ghana in August of last year, and it was amazing how similar Ghana, the coast of Ghana, and Puerto Rico looked. It was amazing to see the similarities, even the foods. Eating the plantains, and over there they call it kelewele. It's a yellow plantain, ripened plantain. The way they fix it is different, but still they're eating the same food. So I was able to see the connections between Africa and the diaspora when I was over there. And every Black person, I think, should go to Africa just to see it, just to
experience
connect it. Yeah, because we do a lot of things that we don't realize comes from over there. Even when there's people tell us that, oh yeah, that comes from Africa. Oh, we know. No, you don't really know until you go over there. It's like, wow, okay. You'll see people who look just like you, and it's just amazing. You can, like I said, you can make the connections between the diaspora and there. So not to take Puerto Rico out the equation, but the connection, the African connection between there and here is very strong. Very strong here.
Yeah, it is. So you've been in Puerto Rico for several years now. Are you there 9 years? Why do you stay? Why do you stay?
You know what? I know this sounds really crazy when I'm after this question, but it sounds really crazy. But I was only supposed to stay here 2 years. I've been here 7. And every time I started thinking, okay, now it's time to go back now, I would look on the TV and it was wintertime and it was a bunch of snow, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm like, I don't want to deal with the snow anymore. And not just that, but there's always something to do here. There's always a festival here. There's always some kind of cultural event going on. There's always some kind of like salsa festival or something like that going on. It's something to do all the time. And if you get tired of your pueblo, your town that you're in, just go to another one. There's always something to do here. And you get tired of the beach, you can go into the mountains. You get tired of the mountains, go to the beach. They got waterfalls, rivers, all sorts of stuff to do. And you don't have that in the States.
And there is also a huge sense of community there too. It's a different type of, environment. People are more communal. They're more, everybody knows everybody, and you're all, one big community, as opposed to, okay, the expats are there and you're over here.
No, the thing about it is like the United States is more of an individualist type of country. And when you come here, it's like you said, it's communal. Like they like to eat together. They're very much like Black Americans in a way. We family oriented, you know, that we share a lot of similarities. But the thing about being here is that even though it's communal, you still can have your little space. But the thing about being an expat, so-called expat here, if you wanna call it that, is that if you show that you respect the culture, you respect the people that you live around, that you have at least a small desire to learn the language of any, they will work with you so much more, you know, and they will take you in and treat you like family. And I know that from experience.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah, that is, like I said, I spent a week in there and it was one of the most amazing visits to any country that I've ever had. It was awesome. I really, really enjoy Puerto Rico. The last thing I want to ask you, because I dragged you, you know, I couldn't even get you in your house. I did take you out of your car or talk, you know, grab you any way that I could get a hold of you. What advice would you give for someone who is considering a transition? It doesn't have to just be from the US, but someone who wants to leave their home country and move to another. What advice would you give them?
my first thing was say, like, we live in a small world because of the internet. Get connected with people in that area. Ask questions. People are quick to give you, and they will give you information. Get connected to a person that's in that area. Make friends with somebody that's in that area. Um, Visit the place first. Visit the place, kind of get a feel for the place. Don't go alone. Go with someone. It's safer to go with somebody instead of going by yourself. If something happens, you know, nobody knows what's going on with you. Go with somebody. Get connected with somebody before you go. Go with a person. Enjoy the place. Learn if it's a different language that they speak in that country. Please learn a few phrases. You would. I can't emphasize that more. Like, learn a few phrases, because just the fact that you try to learn the language, that's a show of respect to the people that are around you. And like I said, they will help you so much more. And because the United States has this image that when the people in front of the states, they have an image, a bad image, a bad reputation when they go places. Like, oh, we expect them to speak English and da da da. People know that about Americans, and that's why they kind of like standoffish. But when you show them the difference, that you're different from that, it takes it. It brings that level of defensiveness down. And then, like I said, they help you a whole lot more. So if I could tell anybody anything about transitioning, the major things is make a connection in that place. 2, go visit. 3, learn the language, study the culture or the history. And from there, you can do the rest. But those are the most important things, in my opinion.
I agree with you 1,000%. So you mentioned that you had gone to Ghana last year. Is Puerto Rico your home now? Is this your home base and you just kind of launch off into other places, or would you consider moving to another country in the future?
I honestly can see myself being bi-coastal. I'm Gullah, Geechee, and so my desire is to go to Liberia or either Sierra Leone and reconnect with people there. And I really can see myself living part of the year here and part of the year in the continent of Africa. That's my desire, honestly.
That sounds good. That sounds great. Well, Kamar, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to chat with me, and you've given so much good information. I agree with you 100% everything you've said, and it's been a pleasure to have you share your important story, because it's important that people know a little bit about Puerto Rico. And there's a lot of misconceptions that are out there, about Puerto Rico, negative. And you're living proof that, it ain't so. It doesn't have to be that way. And, Puerto Rico has problems, other people have problems, other places. It's all relative, right? It's how you make your life. But thank you so much. If someone wants to reach out to you, how could we reach out to you if someone has questions?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Travel PR and Beyond. Travel PR and Beyond. Like, instead of and, it's in Beyond, on Instagram. Yeah, and you can send me a message on there, and I try to respond to everybody that hits me up. So.
Okay. Yeah, someone might want to, just find out some logistical. Are you still doing modeling, or have you kind of put that on
I
the
don't
shelf?
model. I have done a few. I have been a couple of films here, so it calls me back even when I don't expect it. But yeah, I kind of hung that hat up for the most part. I'm more into growing my own foods and stuff like that now.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm
That's
kind of nerdy.
no, that's awesome. That's totally trendy right now. So I'm gonna put your Instagram link. Thank you so much. Many blessings to you and in your travels. Maybe we'll touch down with you again and hear about maybe your African adventures in the future. That might be an interesting conversation.
That's the reason why I named got the Instagram Travel PR and Beyond, because I was like, I go other places as well. So I'm going to post places that I go to on there as well. So people will be able to follow that as well.
Going to be following you. I'm going to be following you. Thank you so much, Kamar. I appreciate you. Thank you. And enjoy that beautiful island.
I'm going to bottle some sun and send it to you.
Please just give me some Puerto Rico. I would love me some Puerto. I live in Mexico, but I still would love to have some Puerto Rico. I love it. Thank you. Bye-bye.